Okay guys, well I'm in the Genesis GV60. This is like the baby sister to the G80 that I drove the other week. The G80 was a bit like a limousine, and this is like its little sister that's a sports car. By contrast, that G80 caught me off guard. I thought it was so powerful with 272 kilowatts of power. This is its baby sister and it has 350 kilowatts of power. I mean, this thing is just absolutely nuts. I've had it for a week now. Here's me yesterday testing it out from go. And I'm going to just gently take off to the right here. Yeah. As you can see, the wheels just spin, no dramas, straight off the line. This thing has so much power. Now, in regards to the power, you've got the eco mode, comfort mode, and sport mode. Then on top of that sport mode, you've got this quirky little boost button. Now, normally I'd say this is just, you know, unnecessary or a bit of wank, but I sort of get why they've done this. It does look like a NOS button, which is, you know, quirky and cute, but I'm guessing it has something to do with the peak output of the motor or the peak output of the batteries. See, a lot of the time you can have batteries or motors that have, say, like a peak output of 350 kilowatt, but a continuous output of only 300 kilowatt. So if you keep it at 350 kilowatt for too long, you're gonna kill it. So what they've done is they've given you this boost button, and this boost button only activates for 30 seconds at a time, which is, it's a pretty cool idea. So what they're doing is they're letting you have the best of the car, the peak of the performance, at the same time as keeping it controlled so you don't overrun it. So this is pretty unique. It's very unique to electric vehicles, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing these boost buttons or launch control buttons in more cars as we go along, because, well, it just makes sense. A lot of these batteries and motors have these peak power output versus continuous power output. And most car manufacturers are going to work with the continuous power output because everybody's just going to flog them everywhere and ruin them otherwise. But in this scenario where they give you a button which just gives you your peak power for 30 seconds, well, it just makes sense. Now, before I get too carried away, let's have a look through the car itself. At the front, well, it's a bonnet. It's a bonnet, it's an engine bay. There's no frunk. I'm sorry to disappoint. Look, for me, I don't really give two shits. I barely use the frunk anyway. I throw a toolbox in there just for emergencies, and that's all. That's the only thing that stays in there. Beyond that, I think most manufacturers are now going this way with the engine bay, except it's not really an engine bay, it's a motor bay because, well, these have electric motors, not electric engines. Going on from there, having a look at the boot, you've got this huge boot, auto opening, and no parcel shelf, so you can fold the seats down and have tons and tons of room in there. You've also got, of course, the charger. They give you this pissy little charger. It does 6, 8, or 10 amps. And at 10 amps from empty, this can take well over 32 hours to charge, which is, it's just not even, there's no point. Don't even supply us with that crap. We want 10 amp minimum, which is your everyday power socket. 15 amp is preferable. This is a power socket you'll find in most garages. 32 amp is something that you would have to get your electrician in, but it's still something that, like, Tesla offer. Tesla's standard charger can do 10, 15, and 32 amp charging. And of course, at 32 amp charging, you're charging 3 times faster than 10 amp charging. So instead of 30 hours, you're down to less than 10. So there's a big difference there. Honestly, I think these chargers are a waste of time. Even if you have them in there as an emergency, they're just too slow. You go, oh man, I need some kilometers just to get home. It's gonna take you 4 hours to get those kilometers. It's just too slow. There's no point making these chargers. Anyway, going on from there, you can see under the floor, they've got here the first aid kit, the safety triangle, the tire repair kit, and they've also got this really cool thing, and that's this little vehicle to grid, or that's what I call it anyway. What it does is you plug it in to the charge port, but instead of charging the car, it charges whatever you plug into it, and it's just got a 240 volt plug. So in the scenario, in the last video in the G80, I plugged in my heater from home and run a 1.2 kilowatt heater off of the car. Now this opens up just so many options, you know. Imagine if you're going camping, you tow your camper trailer out there, and then once you get there, you just use your car for power. And of course, some of you are going to say, well, I don't need that. I've got my batteries. It's going to save you from carrying extra weight in extra AGM batteries in your camper, or it's going to even save you from carrying a generator in your camper because you've got the 240 volt mains in your car. This is an absolutely ideal situation. The only thing I need is a bit more tow rating, which, guess what, Genesis also have in the GV70. That's the vehicle I really want to get into. I've been waiting, but it's not in South Australia yet. Once that's in South Australia, I'm going to test drive that. That's got the same amount of power as this, 350 kilowatt, but in a full SUV shape. And I believe the tow rating is like 2.2 ton. So we're talking about a proper SUV with a good tow rating full electric, and a shit ton of power. I'm really looking forward to that car. Here's a video of me the other day doing a couple launch starts. And we're at 100. And honestly, I mean, this car just has so much power. In this video I'm about to show you, I spin the wheels from launch to 80 kilometers an hour. Oh man, it's just crazy. It's spin the wheels to 80 kilometers an hour. It just amazes me. That's 80 kilometers an hour. I've never done that in any car in my life. I'm not a professional driver, and that is a huge compliment to the car. Keep in mind, I did have the traction control fully turned off. I was trying to do this, but the very fact that I could do it under complete control is such a compliment to this car. Really just a compliment to just how good this car is. And this car, mind you, is 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 4 seconds. 4 freaking seconds. That is so freaking fast. And I will say that with the amount of control this car offers, with traction control on, anyone could do it. Just about anyone that can drive a car would be able to hop in this car and get it to 100 kilometers an hour around that 4-second mark. That's where this car just comes into its own. The power delivery is absolutely amazing. I could not boast about this car more. And that sort of comes back to, okay, would you buy this car, or who would buy this car? Look, I see the person that would buy this car as someone that A, either doesn't like Teslas, doesn't like the Tesla fan base, or just wants more luxury. And I know that's going to get a couple of people a bit butthurt, but when you're spending $100,000 on a car, a lot of people are going to look for comfort. On top of that, not everyone has the same taste. You look at how many car manufacturers are out there at the moment. You've got Ford, Kia, Hyundai, Toyota, MG, you name it, there's a billion of them, and then on top of that, each one builds a billion different designs of different cars. So you look at that, the reason for that is not that every single car is amazing. The reason for that is every single person has a different taste. So coming into the back of the car, you've got plenty of room, plenty of headroom. They've got these awesome shade visors on both of the rear passenger windows, which I just think is such a cool little thing. The sunroof even has a shade visor that closes over as well. And of course, the rear seats are heated as well. Coming into the front of the car, heated seats again, but more than that, air-conditioned seats. Air-conditioned seats, freaking amazing. They blow cold air through all of these perforations, and honestly, it is a godsend. It's honestly an amazing, amazing product. I think it's one of those ones that you don't miss because you've never had it, but once you've experienced air-conditioned seats, my God, they're amazing. Especially here in the Australian climate where you get to 45-degree days and you just need that extra bit of cooling. And where you're pressed up, where your body is pressed up against things when you're wearing a hat, that is where you get the hottest. So look, I'm a huge fan of these air-conditioned seats. I'm a huge fan of the car. Having a look at the front, well, we've got a couple of quirky things. One is the rear vision cameras. They're no longer mirrors. I don't rate them. I don't really like them. When I use my rear vision mirrors, if there's a pole there or even a car, I often change my perspective to get a different perspective on the mirror. The further I lean forward, the further out I can see from that mirror. Not in this scenario, because it's a camera and a screen, no matter where I move, I'm always looking at the same thing. That is a big minus to me. On top of that, the cameras stick out so far and they're so chunky, they're not much smaller than a mirror anyway. In fact, I'd be inclined to almost get a freaking mirror and just stick it on top of these things. It probably wouldn't change much. I know they've done it for efficiency, but honestly, they're so big, I don't know, I don't think it's worth it. Going on from there, now I will say they did sort of fix a charger. The G80, the big sister of this car, had the charger on the front of the car in the grille. And I really just did not like that because the car was already long. And then when I opened that, it became too long for the garage. So I couldn't charge it and shut my garage at night. Or I could, but then I couldn't pass the vehicle in the garage because it was so bloody long. On this car, they've corrected that and they've put it on the side of the car like, you know, a regular fuel cap. The problem is they've put it on the right side of the car, which to me is like a European or American side of the car. Now the thing there is, well, yes, if you're at home charging, that's fine. If you go to a Tesla charger, it should reach. But if you go to any of the Fox chargers, which for the most part, as far as I'm aware, are parallel chargers on the side of the road, you pull up next to them and you've got to get the cable over the car, which I almost guarantee it won't reach. It might, but it will be an awful, awful thing to do. So then your next best option from there is to actually park in backwards on the wrong side of the street and just risk getting a $75 ticket from the cops. Look, it's just a minor oversight, and maybe it's just a scenario that we've got a European vehicle here, so it might just be something that they fix in the future. Having a look at the front here, you've got a huge center touchscreen, user-friendly, really good, and you've also got the controls down in the center console. On top of that, you've got a screen in front of your steering wheel, which is almost redundant because on top of that, you've got a heads-up display. And the heads-up display has your speed, the speed you should be doing, as well as all of your cruise control information. This heads-up display is something that I wish more manufacturers would put in. It's where the speedo should be. It's where all of the important information should be while you're driving, right in front of you in your windscreen. So you don't have to look down and you don't have to look left, you don't have to look anywhere else but out. And the other thing that I'd love to mention is the cruise control in these Genesis. It's on par with my Tesla's cruise control. Now, I don't have full self-driving or whatever you want to call it. I've got the standard cruise control, but this is on par, if not slightly better than the Tesla's standard cruise control. Neither of them will brake for red lights. Neither of them will stop at stop signs. They don't like roundabouts. They don't like hard corners, and they don't like difficult intersections. But for the most part, if you're on the freeway or on simplistic straight roads, they're both flawless. That being said, the Genesis is even better because it allows you to adjust your driving position while still being engaged. In the Tesla, if you're about to sideswipe a truck or hit the medium strip and you adjust it, the second you touch that steering wheel, the second you take it away from the line it wishes to be on, it disengages the autopilot, which is annoying. In this car, the second you take it away from where it was steering, all it does is pull back to where it wants to be. So if you're driving down the road and you don't like the line that the car's taking, and you just don't want to hit the parked car, or you're concerned about the medium strip, you can just adjust it and then let go, and the car just pulls itself back into the center of the lane. This is way more user-friendly in regards to corrections. It's way better to be able to just gently adjust the steering line than every time that you adjust it, it disengages and you have to re-engage it. So what's my conclusion? I freaking love it. I love this car. I love the in-seat air conditioning. I love the luxuries. I love the extra details that they put into this car. I wish the other manufacturers would steal some of Genesis ideas, because honestly, they're onto something here. Okay guys, well, I'll be test driving the GV60's big brother, the GV70, sometime soon when it comes to South Australia. If you're interested in watching these types of videos, make sure you subscribe, and then you'll be notified when the next ones come out. Thanks for watching.